If you were to adjust that number for inflation since then, well, it would cost about $6.84 billion to build it today. Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. Gold started out the year at $2,624 per ounce, and it has risen to $3,338 per ounce at the time of this recording, with some ups and downs along the way. There has been a lot of interest in gold this year because it's a tangible asset that you can use to protect your wealth outside of the system. ABC News recently released a story that lead was turned into gold by the Large Hadron Collider. Whenever there is growing interest in the precious metals, articles that could potentially make investors skeptical of the metals seem to pop up, and a recent article from ABC about the Large Hadron Collider turning lead into gold might be a little misleading. For starters, I would like to point out that the Large Hadron Collider cost about $4.75 billion to build, and the construction was finished in 2008. If you were to adjust that number for inflation since then, well, it would cost about $6.84 billion to build it today. And now I'm just going to read a little bit from this article real quick. Now, in their defense, in the title, they do mention it was not gold for very long. But then it goes on to say, in a breakthrough that would make medieval alchemists envious, scientists at Europe's Hadron Collider have successfully transformed lead into gold, producing 89,000 atoms per second. So that's the first sentence of the article. Oren, what do you think about this story about turning lead into gold?
Well, we have to make it clear this is not really news because whoever knows a little bit about modern physics already knows that in theory you can turn heavy elements such as lead into gold inside, for instance, a collider or a nuclear reactor. In theory, it is possible. It is called transmutation. That is the correct description for it. The thing is, it requires so much energy and it yields such tiny amounts of gold that it's simply not economical to produce, on a large scale. Now, this was known from the early days of nuclear science and nuclear research, that you can theoretically transmutate heavy elements which are close together in the periodic table. You have, for instance, lead, you have thallium, you have mercury. They are all close in their atomic weight to gold. And therefore, if you knock out a few protons from their nucleus, you can theoretically create gold. And of course, since lead is a lot cheaper, then it could theoretically be, you can make a lot of money by turning lead into gold. But again, you're creating such tiny amounts that it's simply not economical to do, apart from an experiment, apart from some kind of a demonstration in a lab. It's simply not economical to do on a large scale.
Right, absolutely. And it is a minuscule amount of gold. When they talk about the machine creating 89,000 gold atoms every second, the thing is these atoms only exist for a tiny fraction of a second before they break apart. And what you were talking about, when they fire the net lead nuclei at each other, they're doing this at nearly the speed of light in this Large Hadron Collider. And when they pass close to each other, but they don't collide, this can cause the ejection of small numbers of protons and neutrons, like you were talking about. And if three of them are removed, then lead turns into gold. So this is extremely brief, though.
Look, to the best of my knowledge, under certain conditions, you can convert lead to gold and it will remain gold. But again, we're talking about, I know the number, thousands of atoms per second. I know it sounds impressive, but we're talking about tiny amounts. So we're talking about tiny fractions of a gram, and it takes so much energy to power. It's simply not feasible on a large scale.
Yeah, I mean, they say they were able to produce less than 1 trillionth of a gram of gold. So I mean that's crazy. So the story is basically a nothing burger, but they
As you
ran it.
said, Yeah, as you said, usually when gold is either setting new all-time highs or about to set new all-time highs, suddenly all sorts of stories, come out of the woodwork. They suddenly appear in the media, and you can't help but wonder if that's not an attempt to discourage people from owning silver and gold. That's what I suspect. But again, these usually it's very, very difficult to defeat Mother Nature and to create these materials out of nothing. To the best of my knowledge, the latest theory or the current theory as to how gold is created, they say that gold is created when two neutron stars collide. Neutron stars are these very unique type of stars. They're not exactly black holes. They're somewhere in between a regular star and a black hole. It's when after a supernova, the remnants of a star, its core can collapse to the point that it's extremely condensed, and the neutrons that touch each other. The neutrons touch each other, and it's a very peculiar type of star. And when two of these collide, the current theory says that this is the kind of energy and unique conditions that you need in order to create gold. So, to the best of our knowledge, gold is generated in nature under very unique conditions, and then it gets dispersed, across the stars, across the galaxy. And when a new star or an asteroid is formed, then it contains some gold, and this is how gold got to our little planet. But you need extreme energies and extreme conditions in order to create it.
Yeah, that sounds extremely uncommon, but it is a cool thought that when you're holding some gold, you're holding part of what was uh, in a neutron star that collided with another one at some point in the distant past.
Exactly. Billions of years ago.
Well, Orrin, thanks for coming on to discuss this today. Everyone, please check out his YouTube, X, and Rumble accounts in the description. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I hope you have a great day out there.